Golden Opportunities is paid for by Elder Productions.
Hello, I'm Lori Steiner. Welcome to Golden Opportunities.
Today, wishing you well. We'll prescribe a healthy dose of medical advice. Then, self-help from a sage. We'll welcome Mark Twain's witty and wise advice. Ready for a makeover? Our before and after pictures prove what's possible. Plus, we'll discover tips old school entrepreneurs can teach us about reinventing ourselves. And is mom or dad already in a nursing home? It's not too late to protect their assets. We'll explain.
It's time to get geoing, so pull up a chair and join us at our kitchen table for Golden Opportunities. When you lose someone you love, you may be overwhelmed as you grapple with grief. Clinical psychologist Shirley Ratner is here with help and hope in your time of loss. Dr. Ratner is with Metro Health. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So what is normal with regard to grieving, or is there no such thing?
Yeah, there is no such thing as normal grieving. Everybody grieves differently. There are many factors that influence it. It could be personality, it could be the nature of the loss you're having, your faith, your background. So there is no such thing. The important thing is to acknowledge it and to find the right support for it.
Okay, and you've identified several misconceptions about grief that we should talk about. First one is if you ignore the pain, it will go away faster.
Right, people often are encouraged to try to be strong during a time of loss. But the more that you deny your feelings about the loss, you tend to repress it, and it sometimes can get worse. So it's very important to acknowledge the pain.
Get it out and deal with it then.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Another one seems to be sort of the opposite. If you're not crying, you're not grieving.
Right. Many people cry when they're grieving. Some people don't. It doesn't mean that their pain is less deep.
Okay. Third misconception is, well, you should be all done grieving in a year.
Right, exactly. A lot of people say that, and even about themselves. What's wrong with me? It's been a year already. Why am I not over this? There is no timeline. There's no time frame for grieving. It can take weeks, it could take months, it could take years for people. And you want to be able to go at your own pace and not listen to some time frame in your head or that other people give you.
Okay, so it could be ups and downs for a very long period of time.
That's right. Grieving is a roller coaster ride. Yes.
What's your advice for dealing with the roller coaster ride?
Right. Well, so the first thing is, the most important thing is to get support, because grieving is a very lonely process. And so people tend to sometimes, turn inward and think that others don't really understand what they're going through. So it's very important to lean on friends, family, tell people what you need, allow people to help you if they are offering you help. So that's very important. Don't grieve alone.
Okay. Get help with a therapist or something even?
So if you are having intense grief, a grief counselor or a therapist is important. A support group can be very helpful for people who want to talk to other people who are going through a similar kind of loss. Also, you could turn to your faith, turn to a synagogue, a church, a mosque, talk to a clergy, pray, meditate. All those are very, very important ways to take care of yourself and get the help that you need spiritually.
So get support, and that's important, but what do we do to help ourselves?
Right. So it's very, very important to consider self-care. Our mind and bodies are connected. So it's just as important as it is to take care of our mind, our emotional needs, we should also make sure that we're taking care of ourselves physically and creatively. So physically, make sure you're getting enough sleep, make sure you're eating right, and exercising. And then in terms of taking care of yourself creatively, journal, do scrapbooking, join an organization and do work that honors the member that you have lost. So those are all very important things to try to do.
Has been great advice. The loss of a loved one can lead us into uncharted territory. Follow Dr. Ratner's advice to map your way to healing. And for more help, give her a call. The number's next.
To learn more, call Metro Health at 216-778-7800 or visit their website, www.metrohealth.org. Next, Typical Twain. But first, it was a very famous foursome when Bob Hope joined 3 past and present presidents for a game of golf back in 1995 at the Bob Hope Classic. So, who gets your vote for the 3 presidential players? We'll tell you who scored a place for this historic tea time when we return.
Hilltop Village Apartments is retirement living at its best. Residents enjoy a wide variety of activities and living services with all large first-floor apartments, private screened-in patios with beautiful park views, daily dining room meals, free laundry facilities, 24-hour staff, and so much more. Enjoy safe, comfortable independence at a very affordable price. Call today for a tour and learn how you can get your first month's rent free. Hilltop Village Apartments, retirement living at its best.
Past presidents Gerald Ford and George H.W. Bush, along with sitting President Bill Clinton, made history when they played through with Bob Hope at his 1995 Golf Classic. This was the one and only time 3 presidents played in the same foursome. It's not known how many shots veered to the left or right.
Need help with your diet? Looking for investment advice? Maybe you need some recommendations on romance. Now there's one place you can find all of that and more, thanks to writer and performer Mark DeWitt. How do you say it?
DeWidziak.
DeWidziak.
It's phonetic. Now, TV and radio people get it all the time. Break it down into syllables. Now, look at it there. Now, see, DeWidziak. There you go. Break it down.
You've created a self-help book for the ages by collecting ageless advice from the wise and witty writings of Mark Twain. Ready for the title? It's called Mark Twain's Guide to Diet, Exercise, Beauty, Fashion, Investment, Romance, Health, and Happiness.
Obviously too short.
So we're going to talk about the book, of course, which we showed, but I'm guessing you might be called a Twainiac, right? So you write about him, you've studied him, you even play him.
For 36 years I've been playing Mark Twain.
So where did your interest come from?
Well, you can't help but stumble on Mark Twain when you're young. You're going to get, sooner or later, Tom Sawyer or The Prince and the Pauper when you're young. Mm-hmm. And then when I was 10 years old, a Cleveland native Hal Holbrook's one-man show was aired as a CBS special. And there he was. The actor disappeared. And there was Mark Twain standing there talking to me. Mm-hmm. But it was really in high school when I really started to read his works and learn about his life. And up to then, my idea of what a hero was what most little boys' idea of a hero was. This was the first time when I learned about Mark Twain's life that a writer could be heroic. So, you know, it's not understating the case to say that Mark Twain was a hero to me, and I'm a writer today because of Mark Twain. Wow,
okay. So you've also published several other books, including one about Mark Twain's connection to Ohio.
Just out this year, that's right. Mm-hmm.
How did studying him help you play him in person, you know?
Anything informs. The more you know, the better, the more you can feel the person come through. And I will do something that a lot of Mark Twain impersonators will not do. I do a show, and I offer this, I will actually go into a room or a library room with a group of people and take question and answer as Mark Twain.
Oh boy.
So you can ask me anything you want. The only stipulation is you can't ask me about what's going on today, because we don't know what Mark Twain would think of what's going on today. We only know what he thought of back then. So if you ask me about the president, I'm going to tell you about Theodore Roosevelt. But I will do Q&A as Mark Twain because I'm comfortable enough with my knowledge of his life.
You've studied and wrote about him so much.
It's a fabulous life. It's an incredible life. You know, there are things about Mark Twain's life which would not be out of place in Greek myth. You know, it's well known that Mark Twain was born with Halley's Comet streaking in the night sky in November 1835. He not only died when Halley's Comet came back in 1910, he predicted it.
Wow.
He said, I came in with the comet, I'm going out with the comet. It's the greatest stage exit in the history of literature. To predict your own passing, the moment of your own passing. And that's not something which would have been out of place in a Greek myth.
That's probably true.
And
now,
so
in your book, you put together a whole bunch of sort of anti-advice. And
This
we've
is
got
right.
a couple that you've done pictures with.
Oh,
So
there's
here
my-
they are
there are
up
my
on the air.
drawings.
So let's look at a couple of those. So you want to read those as Mark Twain?
Sure. Well enough for old folks to rise early because they've done so many mean things all their lives, they can't sleep anyhow.
That's one of my favorites, by the way.
All right, here's another.
I have never taken any exercise except sleeping and resting. Exercise is loathsome, and it cannot be any benefit when you are tired. In certain trying circumstances, urgent circumstances, desperate circumstances, profanity furnishes a relief denied even to prayer.
Oh gosh, there's so many more in the book. I wish we could go through them all, but we can't.
Well.
So help yourself to a healthy accumulation of entertaining advice by reading Mark Twain's guide. In it, you'll find wicked humor combined with clever wisdom. Want to laugh and want to read more? Order the book by using the information that's coming up next. My thanks to both Marks, Mark DeWidziak and Mark Twain, for joining us today.
To find out more about Mark Twain's guide and to order the book, visit Prospect Park Books website at www.prospectparkbooks.com. Next, looking good. Looking for places to go? Things to do? Welcome to our community calendar. The Songbirds of the Cuyahoga Valley National Park have tweeted this event for your calendar. This Wednesday, July 22nd, and every other Wednesday through August 19th, enjoy Music in the Meadow. Beautiful sounds in a beautiful setting. To find out more about these free concerts, note this number. Call 330-657-2909 or log on to www.conservancyforcbnp.org.
If you've ever remodeled your home, you know that most makeovers aren't done in a minute. The same goes for restyling your smile. Can't do it all at once? Don't worry, time is on your side. Dentist Steve Marsh is here with the blueprint for crafting a great grin in stages.
Oh, that was very cute,
Welcome
Lori.
back.
Thank you.
You're experiencing a remodel of your office right now, too, right?
Right. Well, you know, you want to refresh things. And a lot of times people say the same thing. They've gone with a smile that they haven't been proud of for a long time. I'm not going to say the office. We've always tried to keep it as nice as we could. But we want to do it in stages. And the reason is we want to keep working. It's not like a home that you're building or remodeling. You can live in part of the house. So we are doing it in stages. It's taking a couple months, but hopefully it'll be worth it. And you know what happens, Lori, and I'm just going to, there's my office. You can see it as its current state. We have a little refreshment area, and you see it with the wallpaper down. And this, you can see a picture. That's actually a digital imaging machine that we use for impressions there, sitting in the corner. But above, that's our light system as we are now. So we are actually working to refresh it. And again, as I said, we're doing it in stages. Mm-hmm. So it takes planning. Right? So this is our sort of storyboard I'll hold up, and this happens to be the planning we're doing for our office in terms of colors and shapes and that sort of thing. But in dentistry, we do the same sort of thing. We do a prototype, for example. If somebody wants to do a makeover, whether it's in stages or all at once, we do oftentimes this wax prototype. I'll try and hold it so the viewers can see it. But that's a wax prototype of what we're able to do with.
So you got to kind of envision what the future.
It's a little heavy. I'm moving a little, but that's to envision it in the same way you make plans and that sort of thing. The other things we'll discuss before we start, we'll look at colors. Just as the decorator looks at a palette, we also look at a palette. Lori on my right, the viewers left, you can see dental porcelains and composites. You notice they're all fairly dark, and today we've gone to a lot of the whiter or bleaching shades. That's in my left hand. But we want to decide before we move forward, the same way again as the decorator does, what's the palette we're going to use for the smile?
Sure.
We have all those choices today.
Well, why would a patient not want to move forward all at once? Why would they want to do it in stages?
So it can be, maybe it's a time situation. You have teachers and students who may want to get their work done in the summer. Sometimes it's insurance. You want to maximize your coverage, if you will. Sometimes it's a health reason, you know, or sometimes it's an event and they want to get something done for the event and then they're going to take some time to do the rest. And sometimes it's a matter of healing. We may do some procedures that require waiting. When we do implants, you have to wait about 4 months till you can put the implant tooth in. So there's all sorts of reasons why people may want to do it in stages, and finances, of course, is a big part of it.
Okay, so we got about a minute to see some of these staged makeovers.
All right, we'll do it as quickly as we can. So this is a patient who happens to be actually a very good friend of mine. Those teeth were lost because of periodontal disease. He didn't spend a lot of time. He's a very busy guy. And now he knew it was a time to make the commitment to do that. We are doing it in stages. We're doing the upper front teeth first, and then we'll move on to the posteriors. Again, there's the before, the during, and hopefully that after will come up. That after is actually his temporaries. We're actually in the midst of it now.
Even that looks good.
Thanks, and it gives him a beautiful sense of what he has, but at least he has a sense of moving forward. And another friend of ours, and again, I'll do it quickly, this is a woman who's a nurse. She's very, very busy. She's never liked her smile. She felt it made her look older. She said, let's start on the upper teeth. We did the upper teeth with 8 porcelain veneers. She said, when I have time in my busy schedule, when I'm done with school, I'll go ahead and she's actually going for her PhD. There she is now. A little later, about 6 months later, when she had time in her school schedule, we went on and did the lowers to match up with the uppers. So you can do things very quickly, or that. I mentioned an implant. This patient lost his upper right front tooth from periodontal disease. That's during, and you can see with the tooth missing, and there he is completed with some veneers and an implant. And again, he had to wait for a while. Lori, I want to assure the viewers he didn't walk around with that space. He actually had a provisional, that's a temporary to make it look normal, and then when we were done, we gave him that beautiful smile.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Before updating your appearance, you have a vision of what you want your after to look like. By restoring your smile in stages, you get the results you want in the time you want. Ready to discuss the details? Give Steve a call. His number's next.
See what Dr. Stephen Marsh can do for your smile by calling 440-461-1003 or visit www.clevelandsmiles.com. Next, risks that led to 2 rewards. It's time to get up and go, an exercise minute on golden opportunities.
Hello everybody, it's Mike Carbon for Breakout Fitness, and today we're here to show you how to work the biceps in the front of the arm by doing a simple band bicep curl. You ready to go? Let's do it. All right. We have our band, so all we're going to do is we're going to place our arch of the foot, our right foot on the center of the band. We're going to make sure our feet are offset so we don't lose our balance. Letting your arms hang to the side. All we're going to do is twist and curl the bands up. Make sure that your elbows do not move. Your elbows should be stationary throughout the entire exercise. If you're alternating arms, as I am, you can go ahead and just alternate to 30. If you're doing as Lori's doing over there, you can just go ahead and go to 20 because she's actually working both together. That's amazing. How you feeling?
Great.
Looks good. Yeah, perfect form. Good posture. You're breathing. Excellent. Keep it up. All right, everybody. Now it's your turn to get up and go.
For your copy of the exercise booklet, send $1 for postage to Golden Opportunities, 6105 Parkland Boulevard, Suite 140, Mayfield Heights, Ohio, 44124.
For many, their third act isn't retirement, it's a time of reinvention, maybe starting their own business and becoming an entrepreneur. Now, we think of entrepreneur as a modern term, but the fact is that a can-do, let's try it spirit has been flourishing in our area for generations. And those lessons are on display in the exhibit, Entrepreneurship in the Western Reserve, at the Western Reserve Historical Society's Cleveland History Center in University Circle. Angie Lowry is the director of the Cleveland History Center, and she's here to show us what we can learn from old-time entrepreneurs to make our own present-day efforts successful. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Now, this exhibition or exhibit is the profile of 4 different companies, and one of which, they started some in the 1800s, early 1800s. Yes. So what is it that we can learn from these past entrepreneurs that would actually apply 200 years later?
Well, a few things. First, they weren't afraid to take risks. The earliest entrepreneur was Frank Wilczek. Frank Wilczek was one of the 4 entrepreneurs, and in the Taylor Chair Company that we talk about in the exhibit. And both of those individuals were early settlers in Northeast Ohio in the Western Reserve. And so their first entrepreneurial act was just coming here. And the interesting theme between these 4, we have so many stories to tell. We had to pick 4. The interesting theme is that they all make common goods that we see every day. We have prints, we have dinnerware. hardware, we have hand tools, things that we use in our home today were invented by these entrepreneurs, and not necessarily just invented. They took an existing idea and they made it better.
Okay, well, let's start and talk first about Taylor Chair Company.
Okay.
So tell us a little bit about them.
Well, they were one of the earliest entrepreneurs in the Western Reserve. Mr. Taylor came here and started making furniture for his own home when he arrived in Northeast Ohio. And then he started making furniture for other settlers who were too busy trying to make their living, and they needed those furnishings. And then his business evolved into selling furnishings to offices, to libraries, many that we see today. The company actually lasted almost 200 years. It just closed in 2012.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to say they're still around.
It would be. It would be.
And the next entrepreneur, you mentioned his name earlier, he was so worried about other people learning his techniques for hardening the metal and tools, he never filed for a patent. He kept it to himself.
That's right. I guess that's one way to stay in business, right?
Yeah.
So
you're the only game in town.
Yeah. Frank Vilcek was a blacksmith. Came from Eastern Europe, from an area that we now know today as the Czech Republic. And he made tools. He made hammers. He made punches. He made screwdrivers. And so many of the tools that he made, we still see today.
Wow. Okay. And then you've got a homesteader, immigrant, and we've even got a woman entrepreneur. Who's that?
We do. Miss Joan Luntz. Joan Luntz is still in Cleveland. She lives in University Circle.
Oh, wow.
Her husband made a hard plastic that was used in World War II. At the end of the war, they looked for a new use for this product, and she came out with what we know as melamine, the plastic dinnerware.
Yeah.
Her first line was called Brook Park Ware, named after the suburb we all know, Brook Park.
So, really? After that?
Yes. Yep.
Oh, how about that? And the last one is Morgan Lithograph, and they're still around, I understand.
They are, and we use them today. Many of the graphics that are in the exhibit were printed by Morgan Litho. They started in 1866, just 1 year after the end of the Civil War, and much of their product was advertising. Ringling Brothers was one of their big clients. They did much of the advertising and prints for the Great Lakes Exposition in '36 and 1937, and also for the National Air Races.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Great history here. If your third act involves innovation, maybe the best way to go forward is to look back at success stories from the past century. By exploring this exhibit of entrepreneurs at the Western Reserve Historical Society, you can see a little bit of that. My thanks to Angie for highlighting these hometown business heroes.
Thank you.
For more information, call the Western Reserve Historical Society at 216-721-5722 or click to www.wrhs.org. Next, better late than never.
Here, we're improving the health of our community. Here, a student sees a doctor without ever leaving school. Here, a stroke survivor regains the use of his right hand. Here, a foster child gets the consistent care he deserves. Here, and here, we're breaking new ground every day. So we can break ground here tomorrow. Be a part of the Metro Health transformation. It's good for everyone. Here.
Today's show is the fourth and last in a series on Medicaid planning. We previously discussed gifting assets to protect them from spending on the nursing home and then protecting those gifted assets for your future needs. Additionally, we discussed protecting your home from the long reach of Medicaid. If done right, you can still protect assets and qualify for Medicaid to pay the high cost of the nursing home. Even if you're already in the nursing home, it is not necessarily too late to plan to protect some assets. If you missed any of our previous segments on Medicaid, go to our YouTube channel for golden opportunities. But in this final installment, we will discuss that it's not too late to plan with my never late law partner, Mike Solomon.
Right.
So in earlier segments, we talked about careful planning to gift assets and to protect them and to protect your home. There's special rules. I mean, it sounds really complicated. Is there really a way to protect assets even at the last minute when you go into the nursing home?
There is. Matter of fact, it's always a problem. I'll see the children come in after mom and say, Mom and Dad had to use up all their money. Well, there's still ways, even after mom or dad are in the nursing home, to protect some of those assets. We call it crisis Medicaid planning.
Okay, well, that sounds promising.
Yes.
Where do we start?
Well, let's go back and look at the basic rules we talked about the other week, and that is, if you give away your assets and you get past 5 years, you can save all your assets. But if you have to go in a long-term care facility within 5 years, you're going to have what's called an eligibility period. Let me give you an example. Let's say you gave away $50,000. Medicaid, Ohio Job and Family Services, feels it costs $6,327 a month to pay for long-term care. They say, well, if you gave away $50,000, that would have covered 8 months. And therefore, you're not eligible for Medicaid for 8 months.
Okay, it sounds like the penalty period we can't avoid. So how do we protect assets?
Well, you know, as I said, if you can get past the 5 years, you do avoid the penalty period. But if you can't, then what you need to do is possibly give away some of your assets, not all of it. And with the right planning, the crisis planning, we can save maybe between 1/3 and 1/2 of your assets with the right sort of planning.
Sounds good. So what do you have to do?
Well, it's a little bit complicated. So, for example, you give away, let's say, half of your assets, and that causes that ineligibility period. And during that time, you use the rest of the assets you didn't give away, and you pay for your long-term care. But you can't even keep those assets. What we have to do is loan them to your children, and your children pay back the loan, and you use those loan repayments and maybe your Social Security, and you pay for Medicaid, and then eventually the ineligibility period expires, and then you apply for Medicaid. And that's really complicated, obviously. You need
do you have a dollar example?
Yeah, let me give you an example. Let's say you had $100,000. You give away 50. Remember I said that's an 8-month ineligibility period, so you have 8 months of ineligibility. You take that other money that you didn't give away, you loan it to your children. They pay it back to you over that 8-month period. Use those repayments, plus maybe your retirement, Social Security. You pay for long-term care. You get past 8 months, 9 months, you apply for Medicaid. But you can see it's really complicated to do it correctly.
It is complicated. Is there anything else you can do to protect assets?
Well, there are other things. For example, if you're home, you can give it away to a caregiver who's taking care of you, or a disabled child or sibling. Or if you have a disabled child, you can give away money to them when you don't have to worry about any of those ineligibility periods. Again, it gets very complicated, but those are some of the exceptions to the rules.
Okay, just got to plan.
Yes.
Generally, it's never too late to do some planning to protect assets and get Medicaid to help pay for nursing home care. But you have to seek help and you have to plan. For more information, give Mike a call at the number coming up next.
Call Solomon, Steiner, and Peck at 1-888-236-5173 for more information or to schedule a speaker for your organization. Or log on to www.ssnplaw.com.
Thanks for joining us. On next week's show, aging is inevitable, so be prepared with a plan. Need help hearing in the wide indoor spaces? We'll put you in the loop for an ingenious answer. And we'll educate you about new guardianship classes. But until then, please remember to make the most of your golden opportunities.
Would you like to join our kitchen conversation? All you have to do is call toll-free 1-877-765-1543 and leave us your question, name, and phone number. Or log on to www.golden.tv for all the latest.
Golden Opportunities is paid for by Elder Productions.